It's just so manipulative. I'm so nice. I'm a people pleaser. All I do is be nice, pose for selfies and help. Ryan, just take it to court. Get it over with in court. Enough.
Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively attempted to steer the story, but Disney pushed back hard. The duo reportedly covered up allegations involving someone on their team, but their cover-up unraveled in an unexpected twist. What would push Disney to make such a bold move against two of Hollywood's biggest names?
Here he is talking about that specific scene. I'm not going to speculate as to Miss Lively's motivations for mentioning me in the complaint. Needless to say, my experience working with her is very different than the one she described in her lawsuit. Indeed, I was surprised to read her description of the scene. Now, for those of you who don't recall this, let's go through it. Again, he was mentioned in the amended complaint. There was obviously a lot of other accusations that she's making. But this scene where his friend was cast as the OBGYN. She claimed in the suit that the director introduced his best friend to play the role of the OBGYN, which ordinarily a small role of this nature would be filled by a local actor, some rando. But no, Justin hired his actual professional actor friend who lived in New York. Miss Lively felt the selection of Mr. Baldoni's friend for this intimate role, in which the actor's face and hands were in close proximity to her nearly unclothed area for a birth scene, was invasive and humiliating. No, girl, that was just you having something in your head and overthinking things. Monchine, whose character helped deliver Lily's baby, clearly a very important scene, and I imagine to Justin, given how important it is to be a parent for him, I'm sure he actually wanted someone he could trust in that role, not just some random local who could have done something even worse, Blake. No, he puts his professional actor friend in the role, and you're trying to paint it creepy and perverted? Shame on you. Well, let's hear from him, because thank goodness he's stepping forward. In response to Lively's claim that she was nearly unclothed, her costume included a full hospital gown, black shorts, and torso-covering prosthetic to make her appear pregnant, in addition to whatever personal garments she chose. He further claims that the Gossip Girl never complained or expressed discomfort at any point because nothing unusual or improper occurred. It was entirely professional. The thespian, who on IMDb boasts a list of at least 10 acting credits prior to It Ends With Us, a master's in fine arts from UCLA, and a tour with the Tony Award-winning acting company, says he took offense to Lively's implications in her lawsuit that he was not qualified for the OBGYN role. Miss Lively's insinuations regarding my qualifications are offensive, as my bona fides are easily searchable online, he tells Page 6. Lastly, I was in fact a local hire. My wife and I are from New York and spent a significant time there. As such, I, like any actor accepting that contract, was required to cover my own travel and living expenses in connection with the job.
Why would an entertainment titan like Disney go head-to-head with Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds? On paper, they're Hollywood royalty box office powerhouses with flawless reputations and media-friendly personas. But everything changed when a crew member stepped forward, accusing them of trying to bury claims against Justin Baldoni. Suddenly, Disney found itself staring down a PR disaster they couldn't afford to ignore. This wasn't about keeping a clean image anymore. It was damage control on a corporate scale. Initially, insiders claimed Disney wanted to shield Blake and Ryan. The couple allegedly leaned on their star power, urging the studio to manage the narrative before the situation exploded. Ryan, sources say, emphasized his role as Deadpool the Clown, jewel of Disney's Marvel lineup, to remind executives just how much they stood to lose by turning on him. Historically, Disney avoids conflict with its top-tier talent. But this time, the facade cracked. What followed sent shockwaves through the studio. Disney's legal and crisis teams sprang into motion once the inconsistencies started piling up. The story Blake and Ryan presented didn't match up. And for Disney, letting such discrepancies slide wasn't just risky, it was potentially catastrophic. When whistleblower lawsuits hit Hollywood, they hit hard. Ignoring crew accusations and protecting a figure like Baldoni could have torpedoed the very brand Disney has spent decades polishing: family first, integrity driven, and scandal free. The turning point? Disney's internal review reportedly revealed holes in the couple's account big enough to raise serious red flags. Executives feared that backing the power couple might not just be a PR misstep, could spark legal chaos. Suddenly, Blake and Ryan weren't just high-profile assets. They were fast becoming corporate risks. Insiders say the studio's shift happened fast once the truth started unraveling. Allegations emerged that Blake and Ryan may have bent the facts, possibly to deflect attention or redirect blame. It wasn't just about saving face, it was about self-preservation. For Disney, maintaining public trust took precedence, even if it meant severing ties with two of their brightest stars. And while Disney's distancing move made headlines, Blake and Ryan didn't go down without a fight. Behind the scenes, reports swirled that the couple attempted to reshape the story, influencing press angles and leaning on connections. This fallout wasn't just about public image, it hinted at a deeper power struggle, one that extended well beyond the cameras and into the heart of Hollywood politics.
And now it's affecting your work. Now it's affecting your boss over at Disney, which you finally got to step in with this big, huge, successful movie, but now you can't even post an Instagram post without leaving the comments on. You have to turn them off. Like, this is not good for your brand, brother. This is not worth it. Now, I've had other sources, less of them, but sources deep inside saying, divorce is gonna come in a couple years. So is that what's really happening? Is this all just him aggressively, stubbornly trying to prove we were right, trying to just continue to scream and threaten to the last minute? Because that's what this screams like to me. Now, again, demanding sanctions over the frivolous suit, which is a frivolous request. Again, he's drowning the court yet again with more high-profile demands to go away. Ryan Reynolds has had enough of these utterly frivolous. I mean, I feel like I've read this.
Did Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds intentionally make Justin Baldoni their fall guy to shield themselves from scrutiny? That's the burning question now that fresh revelations hint at a calculated campaign to shift attention and rewrite the narrative. As chatter around Baldoni's alleged misconduct gains steam, Blake and Ryan's PR machine reportedly kicked into high gear, and the strategies they're accused of using are turning heads. Behind the scenes, the couple allegedly sprang into action with a mission: take control of the story before it slipped out of their hands. According to insiders, confidential meetings were arranged involving their personal publicists, legal teams, and even studio contacts. The objective? Paint Baldoni as the antagonist, while subtly casting themselves as uninvolved observers. Sources claim that during these strategy sessions, private messages were exchanged, discussing how to pitch certain angles to media outlets. The idea was to feed the press a version of events that distanced Blake and Ryan from the scandal while steering the spotlight onto Baldoni. One insider even revealed that specific publications were targeted based on their likelihood to run headlines portraying Baldoni as the root of the problem. This isn't the couple's first experience with media storms, and it shows. Industry. Watchers believe the methods allegedly used by their team followed a familiar crisis PR formula. Create a clear narrative, push vague yet damaging claims, and allow the public to fill in the blanks. In many celebrity scandals, it's all about nudging the story along through unnamed sources and whispers until it builds traction. And for two stars as adored as Blake and Ryan, public sympathy was practically guaranteed until it wasn't. That's where the cracks started showing. Reports indicate that Disney's internal probe revealed inconsistencies between the couple's statements and what others on set reported. One crew member's account was especially damaging. They claimed the allegations against Baldoni were blown out of proportion, and it was obvious someone wanted to pin it all on him. That bombshell didn't just cast doubt on Blake and Ryan's narrative. It raised serious questions about how far they might have gone to manipulate the storyline. Even more troubling, insiders suggest the effort wasn't limited to just taking down Baldoni. Leaked messages allegedly showed plans to undermine anyone defending him, signaling a broader campaign to silence dissent. This wasn't just damage control, it was a full-scale suppression effort. And when that crew member's statement surfaced, Disney reportedly took notice, adding it to the growing pile of evidence. A studio, already wary of being caught in a reputational firestorm, knew it had to act. What remains unclear is just how involved Blake and Ryan personally were. They calling the shots? Or was this their team acting independently? Either way, what's certain is their plan to steer the public narrative didn't unfold the way they hoped. And here's where things really start heating up. The crew member who stepped forward didn't just drop a few vague comments, they allegedly had deep knowledge of the behind-the-scenes chaos. Their testimony shifted the entire trajectory of the case. But the bigger question is, who are they? And why would they risk everything to come clean? That's the part of the story that's just getting started.
This all just goes to show how unprepared and unresearched Blake Lively was. It's incredibly frustrating that she just thinks she can just cut all these people off and accuse them of all of this stuff and then play victim. Well, people are allowed to come forward and defend themselves, Blake. This isn't retaliation. You ensued that this guy was some creepy weirdo. I want to reiterate and say it again. Like, usually a local actor is hired for such a small role. It's not a small role. It's a really important role in the film, and clearly as parents, you know that too. And to have someone there deliver the baby, to have it be someone Justin knows and respects and can trust to do that scene is what I assume actually happened. And for you to do the opposite and just imply, again, more toxic crap and negativity about anything this man does must have been to seek pleasure. I mean, you were so full of yourself. And this guy should sue her in a way, because again, she's painting this picture of, oh, I'm in there with this scene, and the way I read it when I first saw that lawsuit, I'll be honest, when I first read Blake's lawsuit, I read that kind of in horror, like, oh my God, they really left her out to dry like that in stirrups with only a cloth covering it? Like, what the heck? As I read that, I assumed, why would she make this up? She's a pretty big deal. She's got a lot of power. Like, why would she want to risk putting such a big lie out there? That could also be easily proven false, but she did it.
Who would dare to challenge Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, two of Hollywood's most beloved power players? Surprisingly, it wasn't another celebrity or tabloid. It was someone working quietly in the background. This crew member, once an anonymous figure on set, allegedly played a key role in the production and witnessed behavior that clashed with the picture-perfect persona Ryan and Blake are known for. Although they kept quiet initially, the escalating tension and growing whispers about the behind-the-scenes drama eventually pushed them to come forward. Their choice to speak out wasn't made on a whim. Calling out to top-tier stars, especially when one is the face of a billion-dollar Disney franchise, comes with serious risks. Industry insiders noted that the crew member faced potential blacklisting, legal retaliation, and even public harassment from loyal fans eager to protect their idols. Hollywood doesn't treat whistleblowers kindly. History has shown that careers can be destroyed simply for telling inconvenient truths. Still, this crew member didn't come forward empty-handed, though many details are still guarded, reports say they had concrete evidence backing up their version of events. Insiders shared that they offered personal observations that raised major doubts about the claims made by Ryan and Blake in particular. They disputed a key incident involving Boldone, asserting that Blake had distorted what really happened and hinting that Ryan may have worked behind the scenes to shape the narrative for public consumption. One standout quote from their statement summed up the mood on set. The energy totally changed once the rumors started. It felt like people stopped caring about the actual issue and started scrambling to make Blake and Ryan look good. It wasn't just what they said, it was what it implied. The accusation painted a picture of a couple more focused on optics than on truth, and that hit hard. What sent even more shockwaves through the industry were rumors that this crew member had turned over recordings or written exchanges during the studio's internal probe. These materials, if they exist, have yet to surface publicly, but multiple sources say they were instrumental in breaking down the story Blake and Ryan were trying to control. With so much riding on their spotless reputations, this marked a serious turning point. But here's where things take a turn. This revelation didn't happen in a vacuum. Sources believe this crew member may have had quiet support from others, who also questioned how things were being handled. Still, a new theory is starting to emerge. Could it be that Blake's own PR team was already laying the groundwork to discredit this testimony before it gained traction? And if so, how far did those efforts go in trying to protect the carefully polished image of Hollywood's golden couple?
Based on prior conduct that's been happening and prior comments about just what has been happening in the case in general, and they've been a little cavalier about certain things. But to me, this implicates three things. One is, the reality is, if you get subpoenaed and they ask for documents, you can assert your rights that are recognized in the federal court, where this is that you can protect your sources because it doesn't implicate any criminal activity. Two is, this kind of like is a shot across the bow to not only you, but other media folks, either on YouTube or TikTok or traditional media, to be like, well, wait a minute, what if I, report the news and then I have a comment as to, who's on the side of right and wrong? Am I going to be subject to a subpoena? So that has a chilling effect. And then three, whether there's actual legal action against you beyond that, right? Beyond just the PR effect of it all. And it would, I think that is the thing we're all like in the back of our heads, kind of like the most concerned about from an academic standpoint for me, a reality standpoint for you and Ms. Owens. But you are 100% protected under many statutes, and also the First Amendment. So, as long as it's still there and wasn't affected by the big beautiful bill, to report and have freedom that is protected to report on the as a member of the press. So, there's a lot implicated here, but the most one is like, why pick this fight out of all of them to go after people in the press when part of the image is that you are, you've retaliated against Baldoni, that's out there. Yeah, the complaint is gone, but like, this is not good. I don't know who's telling these people to do well in PR, because they're doing terrible PR. They should have left well enough alone, and now this is a new front that I don't think will get much traction. I don't think a judge will order you.
Could Blake Lively's publicist have been the unseen architect behind the entire controversy? That's the unsettling possibility now gaining traction, as new allegations suggest her team may have played a much larger covert role than anyone initially suspected. A publicist's job is usually simple: defend and uplift their client's public image. But the extent Blake's PR team allegedly went to has sparked major ethical concerns. In Hollywood, it's no shock when publicists use aggressive tactics to control a spiraling situation. What's different this time is the suggestion that their actions caused real unease at Disney. According to those close to the matter, Blake's publicist was reportedly one of the earliest voices to propose the idea that Justin Baldoni was the root of the onset turmoil. Media leaks began emerging with surprising speed, portraying Baldoni as erratic and difficult claims that suspiciously predated any formal charges or internal complaints. One early story implied he repeatedly crossed boundaries during filming, though no concrete evidence accompanied the accusation. Industry insiders now suspect this was no coincidence, but part of a calculated rollout designed to quietly cast doubt on Baldoni's character from the start. Even more troubling, insiders say that internal communication uncovered during Disney's inquiry raised major red flags. Some of these documents allegedly discussed positioning Baldoni as the risk, while reinforcing Blake and Ryan's image as the innocent parties. If these accounts are accurate, it suggests that Blake's team didn't just defend her, they actively built a narrative to elevate her status at someone else's expense. While crisis management is par for the course in celebrity PR, this level of orchestration veers into manipulation that could shock even veteran studio execs. Those familiar with industry dynamics know that publicists often operate with significant behind-the-scenes clout. From spoon-feeding studios carefully crafted talking points to leaking stories to preferred media contacts, they can shift public narratives in powerful ways. These moves aren't always malicious, but they do blur the lines between protective strategy and outright spin. In Blake's case, reports indicate that line may have been crossed, boldly and repeatedly. During the peak of Disney's internal investigation, anonymous tips reportedly began rolling in from other PR insiders. One such tip allegedly urged execs to examine external communications linked to Blake's camp, claiming there's a paper trail. While it's unclear whether that specific lead changed the course of Disney's actions, the timing has raised eyebrows, particularly as multiple sources now suggest other publicists were quietly alerting the studio about what they suspected. Behind the scenes, in the end, Disney reportedly concluded that Blake's publicist had been spreading false or heavily embellished claims about Baldoni, while also working to suppress any counter-narratives that could threaten Blake's reputation. This realization is said to have been pivotal in the studio's move to distance itself from the couple. What remains a mystery is whether Blake was aware of every step her team took, or if her publicist was operating autonomously in a desperate bid to shield her from backlash. Either way, this wasn't the final move in the couple's campaign to protect themselves. It appears Blake and Ryan didn't just rely on PR maneuvering. Behind the scenes, they allegedly tried to step in directly, hoping to make the whole situation vanish before it spiraled any further.
Deep-rooted need to be liked, probably related to being the youngest of 4 brothers, vying for validation with withholding cop father. I'm people-pleasing by default, as is my wife. We are the first of, as are our first 2 children. The third was, born flipping the bird, and the fourth is TBD. Reynolds knows the trade is double-edged sword. Your boundaries can kind of melt, and that's not necessarily healthy. When Reynolds drops his kids off at school, he likes to remind them, disappoint one person today. Because he's so nice. They're so nice, guys. Blake and Ryan are just so nice, they can do no wrong. Reynolds admits he struggles to follow his own advice, but at least he's figured out a way to channel this perceived weakness into a strength. He knows how to charm A-listers, CEOs, and crucially, the consumer. In another life, Reynolds would have been the chief marketing officer for a Fortune 500 company. He just happens to become one of the world's biggest movie stars instead. Oh, look at him. Isn't he nice? And he's so cute too, because as he's doing all this, he's even promoting, oh, we should do it so it's the back of my head. Wouldn't that be so much funner? Ha ha ha. And they're like, okay, Ryan, yeah, sure, we'll do that. Which then he's putting out there. But as you go through his thread where he talks about all this, one other thing I want to point out before we get to the Justin Baldoni quote that I find very telling. As he's sharing and thanking all the people involved, and thank you time, and for playing, it's not an easy day of for playing, it's not every day. A giant journalism like Time plays with form by releasing a cover featuring the back of someone's head. Who cares? Huge thanks to E. Dockerman for delivering an incredible piece and humoring me with all my own curiosities about the state of journalism. And then, now, and future, your insight is hugely valuable to me and so many others. So many others. And now go read this article, which then downplays everything about...
Did Ryan Reynolds try to leverage his Deadpool fame to influence Disney's decision-making? That's the growing theory after multiple insiders claimed Ryan took direct steps to sway Disney executives. Using his clout as one of their most profitable stars, at first glance, the move might seem calculated. Deadpool's monumental success made Ryan a valuable asset, but behind the scenes, his approach reportedly had the opposite effect, pushing Disney to reassess their support. Here's what we've learned. Ryan supposedly leaned hard on his identity as Deadpool's leading man fronting a franchise worth billions and vital to Disney's box office future. Several sources allege he made contact with high-ranking execs, either personally or through go-betweens, emphasizing just how irreplaceable he was. One source said, he reminded them exactly how much he meant to the brand. Initially, it might have seemed like a savvy tactic. Rarely do stars of Ryan's level face public fallout, especially when they're tied to high-earning projects. But as Disney delved deeper into the controversy surrounding Blake, Ryan, and the accusations of silencing a whistleblower, things began to unravel. One insider close to the probe said executives grew increasingly uncomfortable with how persistent Ryan had become. This wasn't a few innocent calls. It was enough contact to raise eyebrows and make people uneasy. Unfortunately for Ryan, the timing couldn't have been worse. Disney's investigation reportedly started exposing inconsistencies in his and Blake's narrative. For studios like Disney, the balance is delicate, backing A-list talent while protecting the company's image. Some studios have tolerated questionable actions for the sake of profit, but Disney's squeaky clean image leaves them less room for error. As Ryan's attempts to flex his influence spread internally, the company faced a defining choice: support their golden couple or stand by the crew members' testimony. According to those familiar with the case, the tipping point came when a new round of statements from the crew member bolstered claims of cover-ups and on-set manipulation. That, combined with Ryan's visible push to control the narrative, reportedly led Disney to pivot sharply. They didn't just issue a behind-the-scenes warning. They began subtly stepping away from Ryan and Blake in official messaging.
Ryan.
This wasn't a mere slap on the wrist, it marked a major dent in his pristine image. Suddenly, Deadpool's magnetic charm wasn't enough to shield him from consequences. The impact wasn't limited to career concerns, it reshaped how both fans and insiders viewed his brand. As the revelations deepened, more questions followed. How far were Blake and Ryan willing to go to maintain control? Turns out this wasn't the end of their maneuvering. Despite Hollywood's reputation for untouchability, even its most admired names aren't immune when facts come to light. Blake and Ryan found that out the hard way when Disney, fiercely protective of its image, chose to back the crew member. This wasn't just a headline-grabbing drama, it marked a shift in how accountability plays out in a celebrity-driven system. Could this be the turning point where studios begin prioritizing ethical action over star loyalty? Maybe it's the wake-up call Hollywood needs. But the bigger question still stands. Will the industry actually change, or just find new ways to spin the story?